So here we are at the Syngenta Oxford Innovation Centre. We're here to talk about the initiative Protect Your Cereal Investment. So December and January have been very mild months. This has meant that crops established in the autumn have continued to grow. They've put on leaf and root growth during this period. The leaf is obviously carrying fairly high levels of disease in places, such as septoria and rust on wheat, net blotch and rhynchosporium on barley, and these will need careful management going into the current season. We also need to think about root diseases, potentially take-all on second and subsequent cereals. And of course we need to keep thinking about how to manage potential lodging risk in these crops. Now, as we approach the T0 timing for fungicide applications in crops, which is usually in March, we need to think about what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to reduce any overwintered disease that will be in both wheat and barley, to ensure that we're in a more preventative disease control situation as we go through the season. So for wheat, we're looking to use a combination of triazole and chlorothalonil, and Cherokee provides such a combination. It's a mixture of 2 triazole active ingredients and Bravo built in as well, a solution all in one can, ideally suited for T0 use in winter wheat. So to get another view, we caught up with Roger Bryant, an independent agronomist, to get his opinion.
At the T0 timing, the starting point for me really is chlorothalonil in terms of septoria protection. Because on leaf 4, which is what we're targeting with the T0 timing, we want to be able to put chlorothalonil somewhere in the system in proximity to when leaf 3 emerges. So that's the starting point. It's what we bolt onto that chlorothalonil component at T0. If there's any amount of rust or a rust susceptible variety, then we've got to add triazoles into that mix. If there's eye spot, then again we look at other products at that timing. And for susceptible varieties for eye spot, things like Santiago, Solstice, Corial, we might be looking at a slightly different mix of diseases. But the core is the chlorothalonil and then the triazoles, and those are the 2 most important components. If we're looking at products to use at that timing and a mix of chlorothalonil with triazoles, then a product like Cherokee is got to be in the mix.
So for those growers with second and subsequent cereals, we also need to think about the management of take-all. Now this can obviously be managed by seed treatment, by drilling date and by nitrogen input. But we can also utilise the effectiveness of Amistar early on in the season at either T0 or T1 to help reduce the impact of this damaging disease. Growers should look at their crops early season for signs of take-all in the roots, which will show any time from February onwards, and then employ a strategy of fungicide and other inputs to help reduce the effect of the disease. Looking now at the barley crop and considering things we need to do as we approach the T0 timing. Many crops are carrying levels of overwintered disease such as rhynchosporium and net blotch. An important thing to remember is that barley builds its disease differently than wheat. The lower leaves in a barley crop are far more important than they are in a wheat crop in their significant contribution to yield. So we need to keep these leaves clean going into the season. An increasing number of farmers are now utilising a T0 fungicide to help dampen down this early season disease. And a product such as Kayak, which contains the unique active ingredient cyprodenil, offers a very good alternative to a triazole-based approach, which may well be adopted later in the programme. So a combination of Kayak plus a morpholine such as Corbel will give a very good broad-spectrum approach for a T0 fungicide in barley. So in addition to disease management, we also need to think about lodging management in these crops. The forward crops in particular, with a lot of top growth, are going to need very careful management if we are to avoid them falling over at the end of the season. It's all well and good having a nice clean crop, but if we get our PGR program wrong and it falls over, we could lose a significant proportion of that yield potential that we've already saved. Modus is a very effective growth regulator. It acts upon all the causes of lodging, that's rooting, stem strength and crop height. The best way to utilise Modus early season is to adopt a split application at T0 followed by T1. The reason for doing this is that we want to avoid having to hit the crop with a hard growth regulator at one timing T1. So it's better to split the growth regulator and apply some at T0 to help with root anchorage, and then to repeat the application possibly with chlormiquat at the T1 timing to help with stem strength. So that's all for this instalment of protecting your cereal investment. Keep a lookout for the next video where we will be looking ahead to the critical T1 timing in our cereal crops.